We have received a few questions, but I think considering the time, we'll be able to take few of them. The first question, which I myself also wanted to ask, is: you've been a satsangi since your childhood. How has Sri Sri Thakur contributed to your life so far?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. My response would be I cannot imagine my life without Thakur. The bliss that I'm enjoying in my life, the balance that I'm enjoying in my life wouldn't have been possible without having Sri Sri Thakur Anukul Chandra as my love center, as my living ideal, as my guru. I started my journey, my spiritual journey began in my childhood, and I accepted Sri Sri Thakur as my living ideal without even knowing who he is. My parents were devotees, are devotees of Thakur. My parents initiated me into this practice, and I accepted Sri Sri Thakur. I followed his practice without knowing, without understanding the essence and meaning and the profoundness of his philosophy and ideology, which started mechanically. We started out of enthusiasm as a child, actually evolved as I started growing up, and under the guidance of my parents, under the guidance of my teachers, under the guidance of Acharya Dev, I actually understood the essence and the profoundness of his ideology and philosophy. So he is an integral part of my life. He is the driving force. He brings balance in my life. So I'll, in the interest of time, I would like to share a couple of examples. So at my workplace, I work in the corporate sector. You know, in corporate sector, our jobs can be very, very demanding. And most of my colleagues who have met me have always told me that, Surya, how is this possible? You are managing this interesting, this very responsible portfolio where the job is very demanding. There are conflicting forces which are actually putting pressure on you all the time. And you have to do a lot of balance between different forces, all the ambiguities and problems and challenges. And you have to meet aggressive deadlines, create quality outcomes. But we have never seen you somebody who seems to be worried, hassled, in trouble. You always look calm and composed. And some of the senior colleagues have told me, look, when we are under stress, we go out and smoke. We go to the bar and drink. We need to release our stress. But you never seem to be under stress at all. How do you manage this? I said, oh, it's possible because I have connected myself to the source of happiness, to the source of balance. If I'm connected to the source of balance, I don't have to look for any other source to find that balance. So I really don't have to go and take resort to any other means of relieving my stress and anxiety, because I am fearless, because I'm connected. I rely on my living ideal. That's why I'm fearless. That doesn't mean that I have not faced difficulties. I've not faced challenging moments. I've not faced problems in my life. Yes, I have. But every problem has made me stronger. Every challenge has made me better. My personality has evolved. And Sri Sri Thakur calls it evolution by becoming. I don't know if this was helpful, if I could answer this question.
Yes, you did. I think it's actually very difficult in this era to not get into something and stick to spirituality. With that, I think I have another question. In this materialistic world, how can one be spiritual at all times?
Well, don't you think that we need to be spiritual in the materialistic world?
Yes, but
sometimes my friends and colleagues ask me, they say, hey, in business, one has to be very aggressive, but you seem to be a spiritual guy, a calm and quiet, calm and composed guy. How can you be successful in business? you need to be aggressive in business. But I said, well, what's the difference between spirituality and materialism? A person who's spiritual is hardworking, he's determined, he's compassionate, he brings in empathy, and he is somebody who puts in his best. And don't you need all these qualities to become successful in business? And why only in business? In all aspects of life. Because if you're not hardworking, if you're not compassionate, if you don't have empathy, we cannot become successful neither in business nor in our personal, family, or social life. So I believe spirituality is absolutely essential in this materialistic world. But Sri Thakur has explained this beautifully. He says there's no difference between the spiritual world and the material world. These are two states of the same continuum. You know, as we understand, as we look at a material object, and when we look at the material world, it has a gross form. You know, like we have the different forms of water, which is solid and liquid, and air and so on. We have different forms of water. So similarly, material world, matter and spirit are two different forms of the same thing. Behind the gross, there is the fine. Behind the fine, there is the finer. Behind the finer, there is the finest. And as we try to understand what is behind the gross and try to understand the fine, the finer, and the finest, we'll understand the true meaning of our life. Today, the human beings are in a race without understanding who they are, what they have come to this world for, what is the mission, what is the purpose of life, what is the objective. But their understanding will expand when they look beyond the material world into the spiritual world, which is the finer world. And the finer and the finest world lies behind that. And that's where, when we attempt to do that, our consciousness develops. And when we develop that supreme consciousness, we'll understand the cause of everything. And Sri Thakur is saying that the root cause, the best way to drive away misery in this world is to drive away the sense of inadequacy. So we lose that sense of inadequacy when we understand the fine and the finer and the finest. So matter and spirit are two forms of the same. They are two states of the same continuum. Once we understand what is beyond the material life, you understand the cause, and we understand the cause, we understand everything.
Truly, truly, amazingly, very well explained, sir. Thank you so much for your time and your thoughts. And I hope the participants appreciate the importance of ideal-centric life and how it helps us in sustaining mental health and happiness. Thank you so much. Now we are pretty much